Hello, everyone. It is now 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, I just want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out today's presentation, which is focusing on studies that involve or highlight supplier diversity or the supplier diversity industry. So for those of you who may not be familiar, that includes anything from minority business, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses, disabled, as well as some small businesses that are located in various unique areas. So those would be the ones that qualify for like SBA 8A, Hub Zone, et cetera, so things of that nature. So today, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, after taking a look at tons and tons of studies, kind of selected 5 studies that I do believe every professional within the industry should definitely be aware of as they're going through their daily progressions, as well as as you're looking to grow your own small business, or if you're looking to grow your own supplier diversity department throughout the industry. That being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. So Progress 2020 presents 5 studies every supplier diversity professional should read. Now, before we get started, I do want to highlight a couple of things. I didn't want to just select 5 studies and then kind of just go through them kind of willy-nilly. I did want to set some type of standards, methodology, if you will, in terms of why these studies were selected. So we will be going through that. We also will be highlighting, why you should be reading these studies as well. But we'll get into a little bit more detail in terms of why the studies were selected and things like that. But before we get into the studies, I do want to start off with a little bit of a plug, if you will. This entire presentation is brought to you by Supplierty News. If you're not aware, Supplierty News really focuses on supplier diversity and small business news, if you will. So anything along the lines of obviously the business side of things, but also workplace diversity, diversity in things such as like education, government. So throughout the gambit, when you're talking about a global spectrum of diversity and how it affects people of all nations in all industries, as well as small businesses, like I mentioned before. Definitely wanted to point that out as well. But if you end up liking this presentation, once again, thank you for joining us. But if you do like the presentation, I would suggest that you go ahead and check us out at suppliertynews.com. And if you're interested in learning more about some of the things that we offer, definitely sign up. First month is only 99 cents. And after that, it's $5.99 a month. Now, with that out the way, let's go ahead and let's talk about the 5 studies, or at least how they were selected, if you will. So as you can see, the 5 studies for supplier diversity professionals that I believe everyone should read was created to include a wide range of studies, right? So within the 5 that are selected, 3 of them are surveys. 1 is kind of a research paper, and then the last one is a combination of research, as well as surveys, as well as a number of other things that was backed by government. So I tried to get a wide range. Wanted to make sure that I covered as best as I could the various ways you could compile the information, as well as what they focus on, right? So few focus on women-owned businesses, few focus on minority-owned businesses, few focus on both, and then you have one that focuses on small businesses, but also has a supplier diversity element to it as well. So again, trying to look at the different types of studies and formulate really the best ones, and the ones that you really need to take a look at if you're trying to understand what's going on in this space. So as you can see, selection methodology, really four points here in terms of how this list was created. First up, organizations that conducted the study. So tell you a little bit about the organizations. Want to make sure that companies or companies or councils or whatnot, organizations that did create this study, are reputable. Don't want to, just some random, I guess, company or whatnot just creating something that isn't based on anything and just more opinionated. These are not opinionated. These are all, data backed. And in a lot of cases, they just, did their study, however they conducted it, and then just reported the information that they found, which gets into the next point, data origination. Kind of how did they create the study, and, how did they collect the data, and things of that nature. And again, less opinionated and more facts, right? We really want to look at the data that's coming in, and can we understand, and do we, from someone who's reading these studies, can we understand how these studies were created, and what are their benefits and what are they trying to explain? And next up, explanation of study purpose. So why did they do the study? Does it make sense that this organization, whoever they are, would conduct a study within supplier diversity and not, pushing a certain, I guess, agenda, if you will? Now, I do understand, all studies have a certain type of agenda in terms of what they're trying to prove, but, I just want to make sure that it's, I guess, as general as possible in terms of what they were trying to get from the results, and explain, hey, you the reader, this is what we found within supplier diversity, and small businesses as well. And then lastly, results. Look at the results. Does it make sense based off of the methodology? And, is it a good conclusion if they do have a conclusion, or are the results presented appropriately and easily digestible when you read it? So that's kind of the methodology in terms of how these 5 studies were selected. Next up, the breakdown. So after, picking the top 5, how I want to present them to you today, as easily and simply as possible. I wanted to make this concise, easy to understand for everyone who's viewing the presentation today. So because of that, again, just 3 points in terms of how I'm going to present the studies. So first up, overview of organization and study. So just a quick, synopsis of the company and the study itself. Is it an annual study? Is it a one-time off? Things like that. Why the study was selected for the top 5. I do, again, explain why I selected the ones that were selected, so you will understand exactly why they are included in this list. And then lastly, data points collected from the study. Now, the data points collected, they're not going to be anything specific. I just pulled just what I felt were interesting data points from each of the studies. So hopefully, let you understand some of the things that they're covering, and, obviously to draw interest, because you may be writing down and taking notes, and you may want to, take a look at 2 or 3 that are presented today, and take a look for yourself. So in order to, pique your interest, if you will, I definitely pick some data points that, I found interesting. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into the 5 studies that were selected. Now, I do want to point out that the list that I will be presenting on the next slide, it is not a ranking. It is simply just to show you that I have 5 studies that were selected. So again, this is not a ranking or anything along those lines. This is just how we're going to go through each of the studies. So, what are the 5 studies? First up, the annual Facebook Economic Impact Study. So we won't get too involved with it right now, but obviously Facebook, I'm pretty sure everyone's aware of the company. They do an annual impact study catering or focusing on small businesses with a supplier diversity element. So I did think that was really good to include. The 2018 Canada-United States Council for Advancement of Women Entrepreneurs and Business Leaders, focusing, so as you can see, it focuses on women entrepreneurs as well as business leaders, so workplace diversity, if you will. And it's a partnership between the U.S. and Canada. Number 3, 2019 State of Supplier Diversity Reports by CVM Solutions. I'm pretty sure if you're within supplier diversity, you're familiar with CVM. So they've been in the industry for a number of years. They have the insight in terms of the data being collected. So I thought that was a good thing to add as well. The 2019 North American Moving Services Supplier Diversity Study. That was a little bit of a new one probably for a lot of you. However, funny enough, I found surveys and reports and analysis within supplier diversity from a lot of different points. This one was recommended to me by a large business out on the West Coast. I took a look at it, and it was really, really good in terms of how they broke everything down. So I definitely wanted to include that. And then lastly, the 2019 Minority Business Enterprise Study conducted by none other than Progress 2020, right? People who are presenting this. So a little bit of a plug there, but again, I'm going to take you through why we've included our study on the list and why we feel it's important to, at the very least, be aware of some of the information that we're taking a look at and analyze. That being said, let's go ahead and let's start off with the annual Facebook Economic Impact Study. So about the study, right? Obviously, Facebook conducted it. I do kind of point out they connected with the Morning Consult, people who actually did the study. This is an annual study on small businesses within the U.S. For them, they focus mainly on the small businesses that are using their platform. So you can see the purpose of the study is to understand how U.S. small businesses are using Facebook to grow their business. This study includes information on how minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses use Facebook to benefit themselves as well. From a larger scope, we're taking a look at all the small businesses in America. However, in doing that, within the questions that they ask, they uncover who's minority-owned, who's veteran-owned, women-owned, et cetera, and are able to also take a look at and report on how those businesses are doing as well. Now, why is this included on the list? So obviously, it's an annual study, which is really good. It's by Facebook. Obviously, we all know that company. But one of the things that I really wanted to kind of push on when it comes to the Facebook study is that it really gives a look on how businesses are operating online, right? So we all know that small businesses are utilizing, social media, technology, and things of that nature. Obviously, it's growing. It's going to continue to grow. So taking a look at this economic impact report through Facebook's eyes, it really gives us a look at how small and diverse businesses are operating on an online scope. And Facebook, again, one of the largest social media platforms out there, really good first place, if you will, to take a look at how businesses are operating online. So the data can be used along with other studies to understand how diverse businesses can grow online. So again, if you are dealing with a small diverse business who may be new, maybe not utilizing their online opportunities or solutions that they could be using, this is an excellent study for you to kind of discuss, how businesses are growing utilizing Facebook. As you can see, Facebook is one of the many platforms that operate. It's a really good place to start when you're talking about or dealing with how businesses are using social media and online platforms. So as you can see, just a few quick stats from the study. 46% of small businesses on Facebook in the U.S. have increased sales because of Facebook. Obviously a really good stat. Number two, 41% of small businesses on Facebook in the U.S. say the platform allows them to sell their products or services in other cities, states, countries, etc. So as you can see, there's an immediate benefit when it comes to just sales. Once again, if you're looking to help or support a diverse business, you may not know this. These are just really good facts to know. And then at the last point, again, 74% of veteran-owned small and medium-sized businesses, Facebook, say the platform allows them to sell their product or services to other cities, which is nearly 1.5 times as much as the general SMB population. So again, a really good opportunity and really good, as you can see, results for how you can use Facebook to improve your business, and how, as a supplier versus professional, you can suggest these to your diverse businesses that may need that assistance. Next up, the 2018 Canada-U.S. Council for Advancement of Women Entrepreneurs and Business Leaders study. So, about the study. So according to the website, the Canada-U.S. Council was created in February 2017 when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Donald Trump, recognizing women's critical role and potential impact in businesses, joined together to support women in the workplace. So as you can see, the study backed by the governments of Canada and the U.S., or not study, the council backed by the governments of Canada and U.S. Kind of came together to put forth these pillars in order to understand how or what's going on when it comes to women in the workplace and what's going on when it comes to women entrepreneurs in both countries, as well as suggest ways for improvement when it comes to, again, the focus of women. So as you can see in point 2, recommendations for the advancement of women in the private sector as well as their respective governments. So why was this included? So while many studies focus on either women in the workplace or women in business, this study encompasses both sectors and obviously is backed by the US, Canada. So there's really nothing more powerful than that. Each of the 5 pillars gives both a full report and a quick fact sheet. So I really think that's important. For this one, if you want to get really detailed and understand, what they see and what their insights are when it comes to, women in the workplace, women in business, you can do that. Or if you just want, a quick 1 or 2 pager that gives you, the quick highlights of what they've uncovered, you can take a look at that as well. So it's really good for both. So for this one, we don't really go into the stats, but we do cover the 5 pillars if you're interested in the study and if you're interested in learning more. Excuse me. So as you can see through the pillars, supporting and growing women-owned businesses, increasing the number of women in science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM. Pillar 3, attracting women entrepreneurs, encouraging women to start businesses. Pillar 4 is increasing women's access to capital. And then Pillar 5 is advancing women as leaders in the private sector. So definitely want to kind of point all those out in case you may not be looking at the screen and you're just listening to my voice. All right, next up, the third study included on the list, CVM Solutions 2019 State of Supplier Diversity Reports. About the study, conducted by CVM Solutions, for those who are not familiar with the company, CVM Solutions, a Supplier.io company, is a supplier diversity solution provider that offers online products and consulting services to supplier diversity professionals. Obviously, one of the largest companies in the world when it comes to offering those solutions to any business that may need assistance in managing their supplier diversity program through technology or consulting. Now, according to their website, the study, this is the 3rd year in a row that they've conducted it, and they actually launched 2 studies, one focusing on supplier diversity professionals, and then the other one focusing on diverse businesses. So you can get a really good sense of the perspective of supplier diversity professionals in large companies, or or companies just in general, to understand how they're operating their supplier diversity programs. And then you can also get a look at how diverse businesses are handling their operations as well. So I think that's really good. So as included, CVM Solutions has obviously been a leader in supplier diversity technology for over a decade. So because of that, they've been allowed access to a lot of these larger Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, which gives them a leg up and a really good understanding of how these supplier diversity programs operate. So because of that, they're able to get a lot of useful data and present that to us, the readers, so we can understand how, again, supplier diversity professionals are handling their departments and their programs, and then how diverse businesses are handling theirs as well. And as you can see, 2 reports, and then the report includes over 450 survey responses. So just quick stats from the study, separated into 2 different pieces. So supplier diversity programs, 53% of supplier diversity programs count small business and their diverse spend. Be interesting. And the 59% of respondents track tier 2 spend as well. So obviously it goes a lot more in depth when it comes to supplier diversity professionals, but just a couple of things that may pique your interest. And then for diverse suppliers, 65% of respondents have been in business for 11 or more years. 71% of respondents said that networking is one of their top 3 ways to connect with partners. And then 89% of minority businesses are certified as such by an appropriate agency. So obviously like NMSDCs, weed banks, things, those types of agencies. Next up, number 4, 2019 North American Moving Services Supplier Diversity Study. So about the study, North American Van Lines commissioned the study just to gain a better insight on supplier diversity programs on a tier 1 and tier 2 level. So trying to understand what's going on with that environment within this study that they conducted. Survey was conducted by Integrated Marketing Association and included 524 human resource, diversity, inclusion, and social responsibility executives. And of these 524 respondents, 284 played a direct role in developing or managing a supplier diversity program. So again, just reading that off in case you're not looking at the screen. So as you can see, and once again, the the next point, just reiterates what I already spoke about, which is the reason why they conducted the study was just to learn a little bit more about the supplier diversity industry. Because of that, because they did that, it actually got some really good results. So for this one, as you can see, the first point, wide range study, really good for supplier or people within supplier diversity who are a little bit newer to the industry. So it does cover some really good, of that basic knowledge. And as you can see in point 2, the visuals. They have a lot of charts, a lot of graphs. Every question that they ask, you get a really good visual breakdown on, the 60%, through the maybe a pie graph, or maybe they have a bar graph. So each of their questions, which they ask, a pretty robust amount, you can see through a visual, what that looks like. So it's really cool because you're kind of seeing a color-coded like industry map in terms of like how things are broken down by. So again, I do feel like this is a must-read for new supplier diversity professionals because it does break down things in an easily adjustable format. So a couple of quick stats from the study. 64% of respondent supplier diversity programs were between 1 and 10 years old, and about 9% being 1 year or less. 47.5% of respondents report their supplier diversity status at least 4 times a year to an executive team, which is pretty interesting, while another 41% report at least once a year. So that's pretty interesting. When it comes to, obviously, your supplier diversity program, the fact that you have to report that at least once a year is by almost everyone, a little bit under 90%. So 67% or 67.8%, excuse me, of respondents plan to grow the supplier diversity program. And I also put in here that the 3 biggest diversity program drivers include customer requirements, corporate social responsibility, and alignment with corporate culture and workplace inclusiveness. Now, next up, or should I say lastly, we're going to cover the Progress 2020 Minority Business Enterprise Study. So we actually got about 7 minutes left. If you're still here, I really appreciate you, hanging on and listening to all the studies and why we included them. I really feel like this is important. So with that being said, let's cover the Progress 2020 MBE study. Breakdown of kind of how Progress 2020 was created. It was a formal partnership between Diversity Reporting Solutions, Supplier.io, and then obviously Supplier News, in order to basically understand or analyze supplier diversity data and really use that data to help grow businesses. So that was really the concept of why this study was created. Can we find information that helps supplier diversity become a better industry? So as you can see, the MBE study takes a look at MBEs as it relates to the overall economy, focusing on the 4 points below, which is the study was looking to understand the economy and how it's measured, small business growth over the past decade, so basically since the recession, the current and potential economic impact of minority businesses, and then through that, give recommendations for future MBE growth. So why is this included, right? So while the other ones focus mainly on surveys, minus the Canada-US Council piece, so while many focus on surveys, we went the very, very data-driven, research-based route. So as you can see, some of the data that we included in there are from the Small Business Administration, Federal Reserve, U.S. Census, Minority Business Development Council. So we think things of that nature. So really, obviously, reputable organizations and data in order to conduct the study and really present it to the readers so that they can understand, how are MBEs affecting the economy and, how are they affecting, small business growth if they are indeed small businesses. Obviously, you can see this study is ripe with detailed data and analysis on the trends or the current economic trends of America and where MBEs will play a role. So just a couple of quick stats from the study. There are currently 8 million MBEs in America out of the 30.2 million small businesses, again, in the U.S. As you can see, small businesses account for anywhere between 44 to 50% of non-farming GDP. So that's the last point, and we'll kind of backtracking here. But the second point is if the average sales for minority businesses continue to decrease over the next 25 years. The decline will result in two major issues, which are, an increase in the wealth gap and then unbalanced economy. So basically, what we'll see is a growing population with minorities who are owning businesses. In fact, getting less of the wealth within America, which means that a smaller population will be getting more. And obviously that unbalanced economy is not good for the country moving forward. With that being said, I think we have about 4 minutes left. So once again, thank you so much for, taking the time out of your day to take a listen to what we have to say about the 5 studies that every supplier diversity professional we feel should read. Now, I do want to point out that every study that you saw today, they are free. At most, you have to give your email, but I don't really think that's too big of an issue when it comes to if you're really interested in learning more about the industry and kind of what you can do to help grow, your small business or your supply diversity program. I also want to point out that, after this, I will be, in addition to listing the studies, I will be giving links to each of the studies as well. So if, again, you're interested in one or two or all of them, you will be provided a link for you to access that. I'll be posting this YouTube, a shorter portion of this on our YouTube page, and I'll also be sharing this on the weekly Supplierty newsletter. So you'll, by Saturday, you'll have all the information as well as links to whichever one you want to learn about in more detail. So again, those will all be provided to you after today by Saturday or on Saturday. Excuse me. But with that being said, if you have any questions about or any other questions about kind of these 5 studies or maybe any other studies that you're interested in knowing about, feel free to contact me at jamie.white@suppliertynews.com. Follow us on twitter.com/supplierty for all the latest news and updates on supplierty or supply diversity, small businesses, and how that may affect you and your program or business as you go forward. With that being said, I thank you so much for your time. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day.